just for a good friend. I came down to the court because I want to end the war, not just talk about ending it. I feel a personal responsibility as a U.S. citizen to resist the actions of our government. I'm glad the soldiers of the 3rd Brigade are back, but I know that while there's a war on, their equipment is only being shipped home to be repaired and shipped right back to Iraq. Never attempted to arrest anyone, they immediately started spraying people and hitting them with batons to make them move. Several officers started walking up and down our line, spraying everyone. We stood up when it was clear that they were just trying to hurt people, not arrest them. They would start by knocking someone down and clubbing them with batons, then tearing them from the arms of their fellows. A gray-haired sergeant who wasn't wearing a helmet then directed his officers to rip off people's goggles and spray them. After being sprayed in the eyes, demonstrators were dragged screaming from the street and shoved or thrown into the vacant lot. I had to watch as this process was repeated and my friends were methodically brutalized over and over again. Goggles were ripped off my face. I was pepper sprayed in the eyes.
I was in the line, at which point the line was broken up by police throwing their bully clubs into people's stomachs and chests. I myself was pushed to the ground like this against my chest into the ground. You can landed on the ground when a friend of mine tried to pick me up. She was stopped by a police officer. I went to the emergency room on Friday when I started to lose the ability to lift my leg. When I went into the emergency room, they said I had a contusion on my chest and on my back flank. When I was examined by the triage nurse, I had extreme pain on my upper kidney on my right side.
And she was on the ground trying to crawl but not being able to move, and finally 2 people went into the road, even though it was clear that the cops were not going to let people leave the road. People just despite what consequences were going to happen, just left the sidewalk, and finally 2 people grabbed her and pulled her, and our medics were able to take care of her. Okay.
The sergeant ordered the police to take off people's goggles. I personally was picked up by the hood of my coat. Like the whole body was picked up by the hood of my coat, and it kind of choked me a little bit. And then 2 police officers grabbed me by the arms and dragged me out and threw me into a ditch. A line of people sitting near the freeway on-ramp with arms linked together. A police car pulled up. Some police officers came out of the police car. Words were not exchanged, as far as I recall. There was no warning given. Police officer stepped out of the car and, with a gun of some kind, stood in front of the line of people, maybe like 5 to 10 feet away, and would pop, 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 pop down the line, shooting people that were sitting on the ground with pepper spray bullets, just like this, boom, 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 boom. People were just sitting there. There was no communication.
And then I offered, like, if you want to check on your sister, I will go with you in solidarity. And we waited legally to cross the street. We waited for the frickin' sign to change. We crossed the street and we're holding hands, and I'm holding up a peace sign. We approached the police officers. And I look over, Katie's on the ground somehow, and they're saying, and you're under arrest, and proceed to drag her like this by her arms. Suddenly, I'm launched off both of my feet, and I land a good 4 feet from the curb in 4th Avenue. I was given no warning, and I was doing nothing illegal.
First of all, I'd like to say that I've never been arrested for simply walking down the streets. Officers gave me no warning. I've seen people being shot at close range with rubber bullets and pepper bullets and things of that nature.
What I wanted to bring up was the lack of medical attention.
Yeah.
In the van, I was covered in the powder bullets, and I was suffocating. My face was completely red. I was coughing like I couldn't breathe. That's what I was doing. I wasn't breathing, I was coughing. And I vomited, and I was not given medical attention.
And I witnessed protesters standing on the sidewalks. I saw a line of police in riot gear push them off the sidewalks into the streets, physically, sometimes using batons. The police officers then began pepper spraying those same protesters they had pushed off the sidewalk where they had been legally standing into the streets, pepper sprayed them for being in the streets. I then witnessed the police allow longshoremen, I believe there were some police involved, some truckers too, go on to the private property of a business near which my understanding has specifically allowed protesters to use their property, and go on to the private property, steal personal belongings, including food, backpacks, cellular phones, medical equipment, water, property from protesters, shove them all into, I guess it was a bucket truck or a scoop truck or something. I don't know what it was for, and I don't know what happened to any of that equipment. But the police watched all this happen. They knew who it belonged to. It was yelled at them that they're stealing my stuff, and they, as far as I could see, were complicit in it.